Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Orange Zeppelin and this is a redo of a previously released video. This one's for real this time because I'm happy to say, as I mentioned in my previous video, I am now part of the Fallout for Hope stream team, and through all of May and into this month we're raising money to support the Alzheimer's Association. My comics are sliding down. Now, I don't stream. The one time I attempted to live stream was slightly disastrous, but what I can definitely do instead is make pretty pictures. And I have an official Tiltify link set up for donations in the video description. You can find that below. One thing that Tiltify lets you do as the fundraiser is you can set up donation rewards, physical rewards, and that means that I messed that up. There. Sheogorath's Mad Tea Party is way easier to get your hands on. Literally any complexities have been worked out by making the comic available specifically through Tiltify. Before, I had the option to PayPal me so I could make the donation. I don't do that. I got in trouble for that. They made me go stand in the corner. But seriously, that option, that whole route was... It's kind of a logistic nightmare from the perspective of the charity, because they can't really keep track of where the hell all this money is. It's just more complicated on their end. So I'm really happy that Tiltify makes it all very easy for me to bribe you with some cool-ass comics. And speaking of cool-ass comics, I am very proud of how this turned out. I worked very hard to the point of a minor wrist injury to get this done by the start of May for this charity event. So Sheogorath's Mad Tea Party is 13 pages long, black and white, inked illustration. My comic art has been compared to R. Crumb by this one guy that I think was probably really drunk. I personally am not sure I see the comparison, but that's not going to stop me from humble bragging about that compliment. In this 13 pages, it is packed with madness and chaos and cheese. G.G. Allen shows up. Captain Beefheart is there. I swear it relates to the Elder Scrolls to some degree. I've already had some really great responses about the comic, so I really hope people will enjoy it. I'm going to give you a little peek at what I've made in the form of my finished pages. So you may wonder here, what the hell is Brain Fart Comics? And that is my zine series that I've been working on since, did I date this? I don't think I did. I need to date things. I've been working on this since I think 2018, so this has actually evolved quite a bit. It was started just as a zine, so I've got different comics, I've got standalone illustrations, I've got various musings, and later I switched into just going full comic here. I've got a continuing story between issue 4 and 5. Really, it's whatever the hell I want it to be at any given time, which in this case was a Sheogorath comic. But let me show you what the actual finished pages look like. So I did the finished pages on Bristol board that I cut in half so that it would be close to the finished size. Somewhat close. Just a little bit larger. I also knew that working smaller would be a lot faster. And don't tell my boss, but I knew this would fit very easily on a clipboard so I could ink at work. So I'm just going to share a little bit. I don't want to give away too many of my secrets. I want to encourage you to acquire this for yourself. But I did want to show page 1 starts with Sheogorath's crotch as a focal point. So we're already off to a good start. I do really like how I drew his face here. I love a lot about how this comic turned out. I have a lot of music references. Music is a very big part of my process and my inspiration. I like to brand myself as a heavy metal artist. And if you get the reference in this panel, you have good taste. Very proud of this hand. You know, accurate, realistic hands are difficult to draw. I think that's pretty darn good. That looks like what a hand is supposed to look like. You'll have to forgive one thing about the comic, and that is that I put an OC in, though she's just there to look cute in a couple panels. I don't know why I'm apologizing for having an OC in this comic. I have Captain Beefheart in this comic. Captain Beefheart shows up in an Elder Scrolls comic. What I should be apologizing for is not including the band Clowncore. What I also want to share is what my loose sketches and my page layouts look like. I had a few bad pages come out during the print process, so I collaged them onto my comic plan notebook. I want to show these off because the rough sketches for all my comics and actually a lot of my art kind of looks more like cave art. This is probably one of the more coherent looking plans, but as somebody once said about Marcel Duchamp's nude descending a staircase, it looks a bit like an explosion in a shingle factory. I made a little bit of a snafu here in which I, for some reason, decided to identify Stanley the Talking Grapefruit as Jeffrey the Dancing Grapefruit. Maybe that's his cousin, I don't know. I'm really glad I looked that up as a sanity check, because I would have made a bit of a boob of myself if that's what I included in the final comic. Oh, and I drew this because I had a dream I was at a dinner party event, some kind of thing, with Wes Johnson, and he had some leftover fruit that he wanted to save for later, so he poured it into my shirt sleeve, like you do. I know maybe that seems a little weird, but I already had pizza rolls in my pocket, so he couldn't have put it in there. I wanted to share these two side by side because you can see the complete difference in detail and how I planned the background, which was kind of not at all. I really wanted to push myself in this comic in two specific things that I'm not necessarily great at. One is hands, and the other is perspective. I turned this comic into the frickin' perspective apocalypse. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm going to have so many of these moments looking back at my pages thinking, I should have done this differently. I kind of wish I turned that speech bubble the other direction. I wish I had just really gone a bit nuts with this. And I do have another page somewhere where I have a similar perspective to that, and I had considered having speech bubbles that were twisted in weird directions, and for some reason I just didn't do that in the end. Here's an interesting little thing that occurred. I actually drew this panel as being on page 6, and then I decided, you know what, that would look better on the next page, so I just cut the panels out and taped them back where I wanted. I will say that when I actually got to the finished version of this, there were pages that I wanted to have more detail, I wanted to have denser scenes, more characters, but I was running on such a time crunch. This looks like absolutely nothing. This is a good example of my planning process being just complete and utter madness no matter what I'm illustrating. Sheogorath, something more normal. No, it's all going to be complete and utter chaos. I'd say these were spoilers, but I would be astonished if you could make heads or tails of what's happening here. I didn't want to just make cheese jokes the whole damn comic, and then I proceeded to make cheese jokes through the whole damn comic. This was, oh my goodness, this was actually the page I ended up inking the last. I did the last couple of pages before this one because I knew this would be such an ordeal. This is a page that I do wish I did a little bit of a better job on. I've got some little notes in here that didn't even make it into the final version, but if you want to see what it looks like, you're just going to have to get the comic. I'm going to skip the next page because I think that one actually is a little more... You can see a major spoiler there. I don't want to give away all my jokes. Here I just kind of forgot to plan anything. There's just a pile of poop there. You'll have to read the comic to see what that's about. How's that for a terrifying prospect? That was my planning process. Oh, what do we have here? This is a little sneak peek at my next project. I won't show any more of this because this is for a paid gig, and I don't know how secret my client wants to be about progress pictures, but you can see I did sketch this a lot more coherently, specifically because I was sending it to somebody else. Because I can make a hot mess on the page just for my own purposes. I know what I'm thinking sometimes, but other people might not be able to look at this absolute complete chaos and be like, oh yes, this is coherent, I see what you're thinking. But that's just one of those little quirks about doing commissioned art. So now that you are hopefully fully enticed, intrigued, aroused even, if you want to get your hands on this, please check out the link below in the description to my Tiltify campaign. All the proceeds are going to a good cause, and I have a very special milestone at $200 in donations, which will hopefully make sense once I drop my next video coming very soon. So until next time, keep making art, keep reading comics, listen to weird music, eat some cheese. I'll see you in the next video.